Hey guys, welcome back to Bible Bytes. How many of you have ever been in a situation that you knew you had to make a move and it could be life-threatening? Probably not too many times, if ever, but Esther was. She was put in this situation. But let's see how she prepared before she stepped out. So, a little bit of background of what's going on. Basically, there is a genocide in motion, a plan for a genocide in motion to wipe out all the Jews in the area. And even though Esther was queen, she was unaware of what was going on. Her uncle had basically come to her to let her know what was going on and was saying, "You're the queen. You have to do something. If anybody can put a stop to this, it's you." So that's where we're going to start. And it's chapter 4, verse 14. And basically it says, "And who knows whether you have not attained royalty for such a time as this?" Verse 15. Then Esther told them to reply to Mordecai, which is her uncle, "Go assemble all the Jews who are found in Susa and fast for me. Do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day. I and my maidens also will fast in the same way. And this I will go into the king, which is not according to the law. And if I perish, I perish." So Mordecai went away and did just as Esther had commanded him. So basically in verse 16 where she says, "If I perish, I perish," you cannot enter the king's courts or his presence without his permission. And if you did, you could be beheaded. Even though she was queen, it was the same law for her as well. So she was faced with death, even just entering her husband's presence without his permission. And let's go to chapter 5, verse 1. It said, "Now it came about on the 3rd day that Esther put on her royal robes and stood in the inner court of the king's palace, in front of the king's rooms, and the king was sitting on his royal throne in the throne room opposite the entrance to the palace. And it happened when the king saw Esther, the queen, standing in the court, she obtained favor in his sight, and the king extended Esther the golden scepter, which was in his hand. So Esther came near and touched the top of the scepter." So basically, Esther obtained favor by God and wasn't beheaded. But what did she do? She called her friends, her family, even the whole Jewish nation, basically, the people, the Jews as a people, to basically fast and pray for her for 3 days and 3 nights. She knew she was going to have to enter the king's presence without permission, and she needed God's favor. She needed God's wisdom before she stepped out. And so there's times in our life that we are called in a situation that we don't have the answer. We know that we need divine wisdom. We need divine intervention. And that's the thing with God. It's a partnership. God knew she was faced with the situation, but she fasted and she prayed before she made a step. But once she made the step in front of the king's presence, she was met with God's favor. But she never would have known if she hadn't stepped out. And she wouldn't have probably had I would say the boldness and the strength to step out if she hadn't fasted and prayed. So God, it works in a partnership. And the thing with like Chris and I, we were called into the ministry. You know, I was a flight attendant. Chris was climbing the corporate ladder and doing very well, but we knew God was calling us into ministry. And before we stepped out, we fasted and prayed for several months before we actually took a step. I mean, leaving your careers, you know, is not something that is life-threatening, but it's still very scary. And we needed to know God was calling us without a shadow of a doubt, because that's not a step you want to take very flippantly, right? And so we fasted, we prayed. And even though we have stepped out in ministry, it doesn't mean that everything is just smooth sailing. We have to live by faith every single day. I mean, each and every one of us does. Not that we're faced with life-threatening stuff. I mean, sometimes we are, because we travel to different countries, but nevertheless, we're still called to live a life of faith and a partnership with God. So I hope that if you're faced with any situation that you don't have the answers to, and even if you do, invite God into that situation and allow Him to show you, your next step, and let Him go before you and bless you with that favor and that grace and that mercy that you need for that situation. I mean, you need divine wisdom in situations that you don't have the answer to. So invite God in, allow Him to be a part of the process. I hope this has been encouraging, and I pray that you tune in tomorrow. Don't forget to subscribe to the GCA YouTube channel. See you next time. Bye-bye.